Hi, welcome to Moveeno Recap. Smashing the subscribe button is very valuable to us, so go ahead and leave us a like. Sit back and enjoy.
At the start of the movie, Dalton Russell introduces himself from what he claims is a prison cell and boasts about a flawless robbery. Soon after, a group of robbers dressed as painters raid the Manhattan Trust Bank in New York. While the robbers take hostages, a police officer notices suspicious activity and alerts the force about the ongoing robbery. Detectives Keith Frazier and Mitchell are appointed to lead the negotiations and are informed about the situation upon arriving at the crime scene where the police are setting up. The robbers inside the bank gather the hostages in the main hall and instruct them to hand over their keys and cell phones. One employee tries to hide his phone by claiming he left it at home, but the leader finds it in his office and beats him in front of everyone to demonstrate that compliance is mandatory. The hostages are made to change into coveralls and masks to resemble the robbers. Later, they send an elderly sick man outside with a warning note for the police to stay away. Meanwhile, Arthur Case, the bank's board chairman, contacts a fixer named Madeline White and seeks her assistance in the ongoing robbery. Arthur Case requests Madeline White to safeguard a safety deposit box in the bank at all costs without disclosing its contents. Meanwhile, the police investigation proceeds, attempting to contact the robbers, but they receive no response. Moreover, the robbers have already turned off the security cameras, and the footage does not yield any useful information. Later, the robbers send another hostage outside with a briefcase containing a note demanding 2 buses and a jet to be arranged for them by 9 p.m. Otherwise, the hostages will suffer the consequences. While the police discuss their options, Arthur offers his assistance to meet the robbers' demands, but Keith declines and asks him to leave. Soon after, the robbers request the police to provide food for the hostages. The police send a recording device hidden in pizza boxes, which records a conversation in an unknown foreign language. Seeking help from the citizens, they identify the language as Albanian. Keith brings in a translator, but she informs them that the recording is just a speech from a former Albanian president. Upon realizing that the robbers are attempting to stall for more time, Keith understands their tactics but remains unsure about their plan. At the same time, Dalton Russell opens safety deposit box 392 and takes its contents. Outside the bank, Madeline meets Keith and requests to be involved in the investigation. Keith contacts Russell and threatens him with imprisonment, but Russell confidently asserts that he will walk out the front door. Meanwhile, the robbers split the hostages into different rooms, frequently shuffling them while also introducing their accomplices among the hostages. The robbers persist with their secret plan of digging the bank's supply room floor, while Madeline convinces Keith to let her negotiate with Russell. Madeline proposes to Russell that he protect her interests in exchange for a safe escape route. Russell invites her inside the bank, but declines her offer of $2 million to safeguard the contents of the box. When Russell asks about the contents of the box, Madeline denies knowledge of it. However, Russell discloses that he is aware of what's inside and explains that the box belonged to someone who profited during World War II and later used the money to establish the current bank. Madeline realizes that Russell is privy to Arthur's history and asks him to take her to the safety deposit room. After discovering the documents in the safety deposit box, Madeline offers to help the robbers in exchange for a safe escape, but Dalton refuses. Outside the bank, Keith questions Madeline about her conversation with the robbers, but she declines to share any information. During the team's discussion about the robbers' plan, Keith becomes suspicious that they are just trying to stall for more time. To outsmart them, Keith calls Russell to say he has arranged a plane as demanded, but won't hand it over until the hostages are safe. Russell invites Keith inside the bank where he shows him around and introduces him to the hostages. Keith leads him to another room and promises the hostages that he will free them soon. Keith proposes 2 choices to Russell: surrender after the heist or leave with him and terminate the robbery. Russell declines both options. During their conversation, Keith also discloses that he is aware that their real motive was not to hijack a plane, but to buy time. Russell inquired about Keith's personal life and learned that he desires to get married but lacks the funds to do so. As he departs, Keith deceives Russell by provoking a scuffle and attempting to remove his mask, but his accomplices come to his aid. After exiting the bank, Keith informs Mitchell that he instigated the fight to gauge the robbers' mentality and concludes that they are not inclined to harm anyone. Keith's initial assessment is proven incorrect when Russell summons him and directs his attention to the 2nd floor where a hostage is publicly executed. An exasperated Keith hurries to the bank, where Russell blames him for the death and threatens to harm more individuals unless his demands are met. Keith's boss reprimands him for his recklessness after being informed of the hostage's death. He is ordered to stand down while his superiors coordinate their next move. The authorities opt to storm the bank using non-lethal force to apprehend the culprits without causing harm until they can positively identify them. Keith speculates that the robbers have a means of anticipating the authorities' next action and can't merely wait in the darkness. Returning to the van, he investigates the previously delivered briefcase and uncovers a listening device that allowed the criminals to monitor the police's movements. Despite Keith's insistence to abort the operation, his team persists with the plan. Having received advance notice of the police raid, the robbers deploy smoke grenades and exit the bank with a hostage. The authorities surround them, and Keith instructs his team to question each person individually, as some may be involved in the robbery. As the hostages are escorted to safety, the police conduct a search inside the bank to assess the extent of the damage. Upon searching the supply room, the police are taken aback to discover that the robbers did not take any of the money. Keith retrieves the hostages' cell phones but is bewildered as to why the robbery was carried out if no theft occurred. Additionally, the team uncovers artificial guns and props, indicating that the robbers never intended to harm anyone and faked the execution solely as a scare tactic. Keith orders the police to investigate the hostages, but they find no evidence to suspect them as robbers. Keith tells his senior that the hostages have witnessed each other and there's no proof of the robbery. Keith agrees to close the case due to insufficient evidence but doesn't give up his search for the truth. He examines bank records and discovers that safety deposit box 392 isn't mentioned, so he enlists Michelle's help to investigate further. He also confronts Madeline about the case. Keith presents an incriminating recording he made earlier when Madeline threatened him to cooperate. Madeline discloses Arthur's dealings with the Nazis after listening to it, but warns Keith to keep it confidential if he values his job. Later, Madeline meets Arthur and informs him that Keith is still investigating the case. Arthur inquired about the envelope, but she informed him that the gang leader currently possesses it and may use it against him in the future. During their conversation, she mentioned that the robbers did not take any money from the bank but were after the contents of the box, which she believes are more valuable. After a confrontation, Arthur confesses that the box holds loose diamonds and a ring that belonged to his Jewish friend's wife, whom he betrayed to the Nazis for a large sum of money. She discovers his crimes but agrees to keep it a secret as part of their agreement. Meanwhile, Russell resumes his monologue, claiming to be in a cell, but it's later revealed that he's actually behind a fake wall in the bank's supply room, which his accomplices constructed during the robbery. A week after the robbery, he emerges from the hidden space with the stolen diamonds. Russell's team, who are revealed to be among the hostages but remain unidentified by the police, await his exit and pick him up outside the bank. They see Keith and Mitchell entering the bank and inform Russell, but he reassures them that he'll make it out unscathed. After changing his outfit, he walks out the door and coincidentally encounters Keith entering the bank, but Keith doesn't recognize him. Russell reunites with his team, who warmly welcome him and celebrate their successful heist. Meanwhile, Keith, who has obtained search warrants, requests to be taken to safety deposit box 392. Inside the safety deposit box, Keith discovers a diamond ring and a note instructing him to follow it. He and Mitchell question Arthur about the ring, but he remains tight-lipped. Later, Keith convinces Madeline to report Arthur to the War Crimes Office. At home, Keith finds a diamond in his pocket, realizing Russell slipped it in when they bumped into each other at the entrance. He recalls Russell's words about walking out of the front door in front of them and admires his audacity. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe, hit the like button, and turn on notifications to see more videos like this. Thanks for watching.